Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. My name is Brent Daniels, and I am telling you, if I can do it, so can you. Guys, this podcast is absolutely on fire. I am telling you, this is going to be the one that you listen to time and time again, because I've got the master with me, Mr. Todd Toback.
Oh, Brent, thanks for having me on the show. Really excited. And man, before we were on camera on the podcast here today, we were talking about the most important thing, right? In this whole business, and that is converting leads into contracts, right? So many people are like, what are you using? Bandit signs or phone calls or PPC or text or ringless voicemail? What's working? And you see all these people like, dabbling in everything, right? And they're not talking about the most important thing. Because right now in your database, right, there's probably 100 grand just sitting in there right now.
That needs to be converted.
Right? And if you're brand new listening to this and you haven't generated leads, that is important. That's another podcast. But today, we're going to talk about actually closing the deal, the most important thing.
This is really interesting because, obviously I push talking to people. I push making sure you're being proactive and making a lot of calls and talking to distressed property owners. And what's great? People do it.
Yes.
And they get leads.
Yes.
And they get a pipeline of leads. You know what their #1 thing that they reach out to me about is, I can't get them to sign the contract. I don't know what I'm doing. They're ghosting me on the phone. When I get to the appointment, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I'm just trying to hope that they actually sign. And most of the time they don't. It gets really frustrating. And then they take their foot off the gas from making the calls because they're like, I'm just going to be disappointed because I can't convert the leads.
Right. And I know how they feel. Right. I know how they feel. Right. This is not something that comes naturally to me. We've talked about it. It's not something that comes naturally to you. If you're listening to this, guys, when we're on camera, right, we're like projecting our energy and we're bringing it all to you because we want to have a transfer of energy, right? But we have our doubts and our fears and, not thinking the seller is going to, think we're a fraud, right? As a matter of fact, I remember my first real estate deal, right? I remember I sent out some letters and, it's funny, like I used to be the young guy in the business and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, they didn't have list source when I actually had to go down to the county recorders and send letters. And I remember sending out 41 letters, getting a phone call, and the phone rang. Oh, and let me tell you, there was some excitement, but I was nervous. Really nervous. My heart was beating through my chest, right? And I'm like, what if the seller thinks I'm a fraud? Or what if they don't know I didn't have any money? Because I didn't, right? How am I going to close? I don't have a buyer, all of this stuff. And I'm like, what if I fill out the paperwork wrong?
What if they get mad at me? What if they complain and get an attorney? What if they,
And so I remember going there with my chest, like pumping out of my chest, and I sent some kind of motivation. I said, and it was really the only phone call I got, actually. So I had to go. And I went there and I met with the seller, and long story short, 4 or 5 days later, I got the contract. I got the contract. And so what I want to do is, by the way, I did everything wrong. I probably could have gotten a better price. I probably could have used a better contract. So if you're listening to this, #1, go out there and do it. If you're generating leads, go out there and do it. There's some fear holding you back, but you must have courage. Right? Courage is taking action in spite of fear, right? And so, if I could really communicate anything, that would be it. But the second part is that if you're serious about this business, right? If you want to make money, if you want to get into that 6-figure range and 7-figure range, you must refine your craft and get really good at talking to sellers, and specifically,
the seller presentation.
Seller presentation. Getting in front of that.
Because, listen, there's not a lot of training on it, honestly. I mean, I've looked around a lot and I go through your course. I mean, besides your course and really setting it up, going over the seller objections and going through all the pre-qualifying and making sure that these people are going to actually, at a point, timeline-wise in their life, timing-wise, where they're going to actually sign a contract. I mean, there's nothing that's really been put together until now.
Right. So, but let me talk about this because where you do have to start, right, is we do offer a solution. No money is going to exchange hands with somebody, unless you can solve a problem, right? We get paid in proportion to the problems we solve.
100%.
So someone's like, how do you make this person sign the contract? Well, you're not going to make anyone do anything, right? It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So first you have to pre-qualify,
yep.
right? And that's going to be really, really important using some of the techniques that I'm going to talk about, in this. You can actually use them in the seller presentation.
Yeah.
But someone's got to have a problem.
Yep.
Right? Someone has to have a problem before you go meet with them.
Yeah.
And so once you've determined that,
yep.
right, and someone has a problem, then you go meet with the seller and use these techniques.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. So just on the surface, for anybody that's new, anybody that wants to implement what we're talking about on this podcast, just off the bat, just as a surface, what you need to do to pre-qualify is the 4 pillars, which is the condition of the property, their timeline to sell, their motivation, and their price. Now, what Todd is talking about is next level stuff where you're really getting in, you're really understanding the 5 different communication styles. You're really going, you're deep diving, you're understanding why they're giving you the objections, what the most common ones are, and how to respond to those, which is huge.
And we've talked a little bit on your YouTube channel, I've talked a little bit on my YouTube channel. But again, we're going to talk about, actually, where the rubber meets the road, right? In a street fight, okay? And that's meeting with a seller because we both know how you feel, right? And so, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's pretend like we're driving, Brent. Right. We're driving out there, and you are brand new, or you've got a couple. Maybe you've been to another appointment, and you've been kicked in the teeth a couple of times. Right. Doesn't feel good. Right.
I'm nervous.
Right.
I'm not sure
right.
if they really want to sell or if they really like me or what's going on. So okay.
So the number one thing I always tell people to do is get there about 10 minutes early. Now, not to the door early.
Right.
Right. But you want to get your car parked down the way. Right. And the reason why you want to park down the street is because you don't want to give the seller anxiety, right? There, especially if a "We Buy Houses" sign on the side of your car. It's park down the street. All right. And you need to put yourself in a place where saying, I am going to project 100% certainty.
Love that.
Okay.
Love that.
That I can buy this house.
Right.
Now, that is not to be confused with eagerness.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Right? Do not confuse certainty with eagerness, right? I can buy your house, but I have to make a profit.
Sure.
I will buy your house if I can make a profit.
Right.
I'd love to be able to do business, but I've got to make a profit.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to say that and practice it and say it in your mirror, right? Until someone walks by your car and thinks there's a crazy man talking to themselves, right?
Or a woman.
Or a woman, right? And once you believe that, okay, then you're ready to go into the house. All right? Leave your contracts in the car. All right? Go up there. I would be dressed business casual, right? Don't show up in a t-shirt, right? But don't show up in a suit. Right? Be ready so that you can kind of go both ways. That's how I like to have my people show up to an appointment, although I've heard plenty of people locking up a contract in their board shorts, right? But I just found that that's neutral. So when you go with the seller, what you want to do is you want to go in, right? Now, for the majority of sellers, you want to get in and build rapport. Now, of course, everyone's going to say, Todd, I know what rapport is.
I just ask them about your stuff, and I agree with them, and I try to relate to them. That's not what you do.
No, you don't.
No.
Okay. No, you don't. Okay. The 3 levels of rapport is number 1, how are you doing? Oh, great. I see that you're a New York Jet fan, or I see this. Oh, great. Well, how much do you want for your house? Okay. You're going to have to date a little bit. Okay. And it's really important. There are 3 levels of rapport, and I can go into this deeper in some other videos.
Sure.
But the first level of rapport is where you're talking about places they've been, right? People or things in their house. And that is good. And that's where most people live. It's not bad, but you want to stay there. And you want to keep pointing to stuff or talking about stuff until you find an anchor, right? An anchor, right? And then stick to that. There is an exception to all of this, and that's when you're dealing with a real driver personality. But 80% of people right here are going to live in this world.
So let me give you an example of an anchor that literally happened in my life, right? I was on an appointment in Mesa. This is when I was out going on appointments, being my own acquisition manager, talking. Find out the seller went to high school with my mom.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So I mean, come on, right?
Forget it.
They had a great friendship. They were in Palm or something together, like the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I got that deal.
Yes.
But it was just like an incredible, like, boom, got it. You know what I mean? That's an example. I mean, there's unlimited amount of anchors that you could call up, but that's an example.
That's perfect. You found that, right?
Yeah.
And so you keep going and keep going and keep going until you find one, and then latch on it. Now there is an exception to this if the seller's a high driver and like, look, I don't want to talk about this. Get to the point. Fine, it's time to bail, right? And go right into negotiation. Let them drive the show, and let them show you who's boss, right? But that's that's that person. Okay. Now, second part of rapport though is you got to go deeper because people think, oh my gosh, you went to high school with my mother. No, you are not done, right? The second thing is you keep this conversation going until they teach you something. Okay.
Wow.
Do people like to talk? Or do they like to listen?
They like to talk.
Oh,
they like to talk.
Boy.
Yep.
They love to talk.
Love to talk.
Right?
Yep.
And so then the second level is when they teach you something.
Genius.
So for me, I love tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
But if someone's going the back and I'm like, oh, you grow tomatoes? I love tomatoes. Right? And then you let them teach you. Oh, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Do you plant them in February? Do you plant them in April? Right? How do you get them so big?
Incredible.
Right? And be real. Right? Find something that you can latch onto and just sit there and forget that you have a contract. Let it go. That's how you be real. Right? And sit there and work. And now you might be going on an hour, 2 hours, right? So what? You've got $40,000 on the line. Okay? Take your time. Love the one you're with. Okay? Finally. Okay, that's level 2. You think you're done? You are not done.
Nope.
All right. Level 3 is they give you some tomatoes to take home. All right. They give you the basket. Put them in there, a little paper towel up front. How do I bring you back your basket? Keep the basket, right? Boom. Now you know you're ready to move on. Right. So real important, right? That's the 3 levels of rapport. I don't think I've ever talked about that before publicly. No. It's something that we talk internal with our acquisition specialist. All right. Now that's level 1. Now, level 2, okay, or step 2, is where the pain step comes. Now, people always try to rush this, right? But what you want to do is slow the process down, right? And that was painful. You want to slow it down, and you want to dig into the seller's pain. You want to pour salt in the wound, okay? And what I mean by that is that you are priming them to sell today, right? So the faster that you're in there and the faster you're out, the faster you're like, oh great, this was easy. I'll meet with 5 other investors.
Now, so some people might be saying, and I say it sometimes in my head, well, man, that seems evil. Like you're pouring salt in somebody's wound. These guys have a problem. These guys have an issue. But when you really look at it, at some point, they're going to have to make a decision. A lot of these distressed property owners do not have a track record of making great decisions, and they stay stuck in a rut. So it literally, even Tony Robbins talks about it. You got to hurt them before you can heal them. Right? You got to make them face reality before they can really. That's what you're talking about.
Well, and thank you for clarifying that because the biggest thing is that they're in this position. They're a natural procrastinator. And so I'm trying to pour salt in this wound so that they cut this cancer out. Okay, so you've got to cut the cancer out. And so I'm persuading them to talk about it. So what we do is we start asking about the problems. Okay, so tell me about your son who's been living in the property for 20 years, rent-free. Right? And I start using techniques that we talk about in the no-limit selling system, like, hey, the great thing is, if he lives here for another 10 years, I mean, he's your son. You'd be okay with that. Right? And you go the opposite of how they would go. And you get them talking about that. And what you want to do is the seller may want to move on, but you keep going back to this, right? And saying, hey, look, I mean, your son, maybe he'd fix up the place for you, Maybe he'll pay the mortgage.
Maybe he's got some friends that are,
get some roommates, right? And you stick there, okay? And it's pain, 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 pain. And then you keep going. Then you might say, well, listen, how about you evict him? And maybe fix it up and sell it for top dollar, right? And they go, nope, I'm not doing it. I don't have the money. More pain, right? Well, how about just selling as is with a real estate agent? Now, what I love to do is some people are actually scared to state these things, right? Why?
Because they're like, Well, first, they're embarrassed a couple times. You know, I mean, often they're embarrassed by it. And two, sometimes they don't really understand the reality of the situation that they're in until it's too late. It's getting close to that time, but it's not really at the time where everything's about to fall off the cliff.
Right.
You know?
Well, but a lot of wholesalers go out there, they're scared to actually give the sellers other options.
Oh, sure.
Right? And why? Because they're scared of losing the deal.
Yeah.
Right? And this is part of your internal game.
Yep.
Okay? Very, very, very important. Okay? Actually, Brent and I have a 2-day event coming up, Transformation Experience.
Wait. This has been something that's 6 months in the making. I can't believe it's actually here, March 6th and 7th. You can check out information on it at
Wholesale Certified Pro.
WholesaleCertifiedPro.com. Okay, .com. It is absolutely bananas. And not only that, we put together a formal seller presentation.
A former seller presentation, right? So go to Wholesale Certified Pro if you want to know more about that, okay? But step 2, okay, is that they're there, and only then the seller at this point should start to squirm.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, they want to move on, right? They just want to get to the numbers and the contract, but no, you live here until they get frustrated. You want to throw 5 or 6 different options.
Yep.
At them, okay, until you prime them to make a decision. At this point, they should.
Why don't you list it?
Right?
Why don't you get a private loan? Why don't you refinance the house and pull some money out?
No, I told you, I just want to get rid of the house. You want to keep saying that until they say that.
Why don't you just say? Why don't you rent it out?
Brent, I told you, I just want to sell the house.
Yeah.
Right? Now you heard a little bit of that frustration. That's how you know you've marinated this deal.
Yep.
Okay. You're right. Just like you said, we are there to help. Right? Yes, we're going to agitate the situation. But more importantly and more accurately is we're going to have the seller agitate it for themselves, is they're going to start saying out loud all the things that have gone onto the property. We're going to get them to say that by using something we call the stealth mismatch, right? Basically going the opposite of what most people would say.
I love that analogy you gave about cutting out the cancer.
Yeah.
Because it really is a financial cancer.
Yeah, financial.
It really is for a lot of people. There is nothing more deadly to their finances than a property that is run down, to a property they can't fix up, to a property they inherited and can't take care of, to all those things. It truly is. I mean, that's just hit me for the first time, but it's really like, and you're saying you got to go in like a doctor, you got to diagnose, you got to hurt them with the facts. If you don't cut this out, you know, this is what's going to happen, right?
Now, once they're primed,
Yeah.
all right, this is where most people drop the ball.
Okay.
All right, they're like, okay, the best I could do is $150,000.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You're on a date.
Yeah.
All right, and what you've got to do is you've got to dance. You've got to dance, right? So I like to, one of my mentors taught me this, Peter Conte, David Finkel, I don't think they even teach real estate anymore.
Yeah.
This is when I was doing lease options.
Yeah.
They said, use the what if.
Okay.
What if?
Yep.
Look, what if, right? Let's pretend like you think you want to come in at 150, right? What if I could come in, and this is, let's pretend like we've talked about numbers a little bit, right? What if I could pay 110 or 120? Is that something that you'd accept or probably not?
Probably not. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Probably not. And what it is that you get a reaction from them. It's not a yes or a no.
Right.
But for some reason, when you use the tone, and you notice how I cushion that a little bit, right? The cushion. You know, what if I could do that? Probably not. It's a hypothetical. Well, I don't know, right? And you start going through the stuff. What if, I'm not saying that you want this, but what if I could close in, 10 days?
Yeah.
I mean, that you wouldn't want to close any sooner than that, would you?
Right.
Right?
Right.
What if I could take the property with your son intact? I mean, that's not something you probably would want, but what if?
What if?
Right?
Yeah.
And you just get them talking about all these different sections of the contract,
Yeah.
right? And you start writing things down. And so there's a few things that you have to do. Number 1 is the price. Number 2 is the closing timeline, right? And then 3, any other terms like occupancy. Those are the 3 main things that you have to agree on.
Yeah.
If you can't agree on price, go to 2 and go to 3, right? Nail those down, right? Button them down. Whoop, whoop, right? So what I hear you saying is that you would like a 10-day close. Is that right? You like that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I also see that you'd like me to buy the house with your son in there. Is that right? Or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, and this is where you really want to hit it. Look, it sounds like you want 150. I told you I could only pay 120. What are we going to do about that?
Well, I might be able to meet you in the middle.
Like what?
135.
Like 120 to 135?
I'd want it closer to 135.
So like 130 to 135?
I'm like 130 would be the lowest.
130. So like 128 to 130.
Oh, 130.
130.
Yeah,
okay.
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something called the range technique.
Right.
All right, the range technique, but we laughed, it's joking, it's non-threatening.
Yeah.
I'm not like, you this, I just use that. And you got a little chuckle out of that, right? Like, It really felt like I was in a negotiation. Right. And so when you meet with them, okay, you write all these things down, it's hypotheticals, 130, non-threatening, I got you down. But by using the range, right, you actually came up with a number. Right. And then I tested you, I pushed you. Right, $2,000 or $3,000 can make a lot of difference when you're doing business, right?
Yes.
So keep doing that, right? Now you're there. Go back to building that level 3 before. Hey, oh my gosh, if you're watching this, I'm pretending like I'm eating tomatoes, right? Yeah. These are so good, right? And the tomatoes are there, right? And come back, build a rapport. Hey, look, I know we're close here, but look, I mean, just why not rent this thing?
Yeah.
Go back to the pain step. Todd, I told you, I'm done. I'm done.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
Go back. Now you're ready to go, okay? And now at this point, you want to make it the seller's idea.
Yep.
Okay, so you want me to do this, you want me to do this, you want me to do this.
Yep.
What's the next step, Brent?
Sign the contract.
Okay, well, I think I've got some paperwork in the car.
Okay.
Right, I keep it in there. You might have to go get it.
Yeah.
Get the paperwork. Boom.
Yep.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
We're paraphrasing this.
Sure.
Right? We're going to go into this deep.
Right.
Deep. This is just like one sliver of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
If you want to go more, you want to find out this 2-day experience, go to Wholesale Certified Pro.
Well, guys, listen. There's not. We don't do a lot of events at Wholesaling Inc. Todd and I got together 6 months ago, and from the bottom of our hearts, we looked at everything. Todd's been coaching for years. I've been coaching for years. We have incredible people, and the things that people are asking for that they're missing or feel like is the biggest challenge, we put together a 2-day intensive, but it's really a transformation. That's what this whole thing's about. It's not only the business and making more money and being more profitable, which that's huge, but also the mindset.
Yeah.
Also, you can't be the same person making $50K a month or making $50K a year that you are making $100 or $1 million a year. It's a different person. We want to pull you up there. Not only that, but we're definitely going to be talking about lead generation, about conversion with the perfect seller presentation, and then with disposition, with different techniques there. Obviously heavy on wholesale, but some other techniques, lease options, seller financing, some subject to. So absolutely phenomenal. If anybody's interested in that, that is Wholesale Certified Pro.com.
Right.
That's it.
All right, so let me get into the 5th step.
Okay.
Okay, the 5th step. And so this is how you make sure that you never lose a deal.
Yep.
Okay. As the seller is signing, I want you to do something called the boomerang.
Okay.
Okay. And this is where you got to grab, grab your bootstraps, let's call it.
Sure.
Right? And you've got to have some courage, and you got to throw away the deal.
Yep.
And say, Mr. Seller, are you sure you want to do this? Right? Are you sure you want to do this, right?
Yeah.
And you throw it away.
Yep.
And the harder you throw it away, what happens to a boomerang?
It comes back faster.
It comes back.
Yeah.
Right, because if you were going to lose that deal, if they changed their mind at the table, they're going to call you the next day and ghost on you.
Yep.
Right? So it's really, really important that you throw it away, have them latch onto it, get the contract.
Yep.
Okay? Now, real important, once you get the contract, say, hey, listen, someone from title is going to call you in 24 hours and schedule all the paperwork, so look out for that. Okay? This is an opportunity, by the way, for everyone to keep a promise. Right? The more promises you give and keep, right, the more that deal will stay buttoned up. Get the contract signed, give them a copy, take a picture of yourself, let them keep the original. That always makes them feel better, right? Let them keep the original, send it to your title company right then and there, tell them to call them within 24 hours, make sure they call within 2 or 3, if it was in the middle of the night, right? Boom, the title company calls and says, hey, I've got a signing schedule for you on Friday of next week. Are you good to go? Boom, locked it up. They feel good. Hopefully, $20K or more, okay, as much as $200K, I've heard of a lot more, okay, in the bank. And that is the brief synopsis of the seller appointment.
What I like doing, just to add a little tip to that, is I have on my phone an app called Turbo Scan.
Okay.
I take a picture of the contract as soon as it's signed, and it scans in, I send it to the title company instantly.
Oh, love it.
Right?
Yeah.
I leave the original with the seller.
Yeah.
They've got it. Have it. I've got it here.
Yeah.
I leave it with them. They're feeling good. I've already opened up escrow. Now, 9 a.m. the next morning, my escrow officer is calling this seller, getting the whole ball rolling. And you know as well as I do, and we talk about it a lot in this intensive, you get the right title company, get the right escrow company, they will do 90% of your 90%. Disposition.
I love it. Yep. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Well, thank you, Todd. I know that your time is quick. I mean, your time is short. You got to jump on a flight.
I know.
That was absolutely incredible. You are the best. Everybody knows it.
Oh, thanks.
Or everybody should know it. Everybody out there listening, truly, 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 if you are interested in taking it to the next level and having a hands-on, intense, transformational experience, make sure you check out WholesalingCertifiedPro.com.
Yeah, Wholesale Certified Pro.
WholesaleCertifiedPro.com.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Awesome, Brent. Thanks.
See you, bud.
All right.
See you guys. Love you.